Hey folks, welcome to the Do-It-Yourself Dad channel. You might be wondering why we are outside filming in the dark and why you're having to listen to crickets in the background. That's because today we are talking about this thing. This is the new 360 camera from Eufy, and in the dark and outside is where this thing really shines. Did you see what I did there? It's a joke. Anyway, so this camera, I was really excited about this camera because it's got a lot of cool new features. Now, I know a lot of folks, when they get something like this, they throw the box out, they throw the manual out, and they just install it. And you could do that. But what I really like about Eufy stuff is they go through a lot of process to really get the bugs worked out and make these things a lot easier to install. So don't do that. You're going to want to follow the step-by-step that we have here in the video or the instructions in the box or in the app, because if you follow them, it's going to make the whole install go a lot quicker. So what we're going to do in this video, first, we're going to do the install, and then I'm going to show you how well this thing works and some of the really neat features that this camera has in it that most of the others don't. So let's jump into the install. Like I said, my first instinct on this thing was to slap it on the wall, and that's because on the underside of it, it's got your regular wires, and it comes with a regular mounting plate. And you could do that and it would work just fine. But Eufy did us a favor. On the underside of this thing, there's a USB port, and that is so you can power this thing up and sync the entire thing to your security system or your phone before you hang it on the wall. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. Now, it does come with the little cable here, so you can do that. But there was something else I noticed in here, and this is something that's always impressed me with the Eufy products. It came with this little hooky strap thing, and I couldn't figure out what this was for because, like a lot of dudes, I don't really look at the manual, but I cracked the manual open to figure out what that little strap was for. Now, when I opened this thing, the first thing that I noticed was how heavy this unit is. And what's a common struggle when you're putting up a unit like this is you're trying to do all the wire nuts, and this thing is dangling there. What this strap is for is so you can actually hook to this and hook to your junction box in the wall and support it while you're doing that. It's just one of the little things that Eufy seems to do with all their products where they really think things through. But right now, let's get into getting this thing set up. Now, just like all the other Eufy products, you're gonna set it up through the Eufy app. Now, it's the Eufy security app. I had somebody ask the other day on one of my other Eufy videos which app to download. It is the Eufy security app, not the Eufy home app. So you're gonna download the security app. I already have it set up here. So let me show you from the beginning where you're gonna start from. You can see here, this is my home screen. I've got all my other cameras and devices on there. If you want to check out, I've got videos on all the other stuff I've got set up here. But for this one, we're going to hit the three little lines up at the top, go to My Devices, and then hit the little plus sign up here. And that'll give you all the devices you can add. For this one, we're going to scroll down. It's the Floodlight Cam Pro. And we're going to scan the QR code that is on the top of the device. Now, in this case, the QR code is right there. It's on the top. So the whole camera is set up like this, flipped up right there. We're going to jump back into the app here and scan that QR code. Now, once you scan the QR code, it is going to give you a couple prompts. You're going to plug in right here the power, but it does tell you at this point, don't tear these off. If you have already torn them off, you might want to stick them back on or at least turn these away from you, because during the setup process, those will come on and it will be very, very bright. So let's get that thing plugged in and start the syncing process. Now that it's plugged in, we're gonna go back over to the app, hit next. We've connected it to a power source. So now with it plugged in and powered, a little red LED should start blinking. Once we see that LED blinking back on the app, we're going to tell it that it is sync button until you hear the beep. It is blinking. Now we're going to press that little sync button, which was on the back. Spin it back around, and it should be flashing blue. Should we put our Wi-Fi password into the app? Now leave me a comment down below if you know where my network name came from.
Connecting to the Wi-Fi network, please wait. Setup was successful.
And we're gonna put this at our side door. And now we're gonna go install it on the side of the house. Now, like I had mentioned before, one of the things that's always really impressed me with the Eufy products is their attention to detail. In the app, there is excellent instructions on how to wire up one of these cameras. But if you want a video step by step, I have a video where I show you how to install one of these, how to do all the wiring on it, and how to do it safely. I'm gonna have that link down below if that's something you need. If it's not, you can go ahead and install this thing. So let's get into it. Now, if you want to check these cameras out for yourself, I do have a link down below in the description if you want to check that out. And Eufy also hooked us up with a $50 off coupon code that you can use as well if you're interested in buying one of these. Now, remember what I was talking about? That thing, that is that strap. I can't tell you how many times I've set up these kind of lights and I'm trying to juggle the light and twisting things and propping it up on stuff. I don't know why I never thought of that, and I don't know why anybody else hasn't either, but that's awesome. Now for literally the most satisfying part of any project. So now with the power back on, the little indicator light on the front should be red. We're going to jump back into the application and finish the setup. We're going to click the Start Test button, and it's going to test the connection between the camera and my router. So now I can go and just set the whole thing up in the app. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some time to get this thing set up in the app so it'll work well in my situation. Hopefully that'll also help you work out in your situation. So right now let's show you some of the footage we're getting from the camera, daytime and nighttime, and then I'll show you the settings I used to get it to work that way. So this first shot gives you an idea of how well the image comes out at night. And right now in this video clip, I have the lights running at 10%. So that's something to think about. This is 10% light, and that's how bright it is. These things are really bright, and I got a little bit more on that when we get to the end of the video. Now, the second daytime video I have here illustrates another neat feature of the camera, and that is that it has a 360-degree motion sensor as well as the camera. So this camera is defaulted to always be looking at my gate, which is 180 degrees behind where the camera is pointed here in this video. But it still saw me coming up behind the camera with the motion detector. So when it detects motion anywhere in that 360-degree view, the camera will swing around and start tracking that object. So here it's tracking me, and this actually illustrates another thing I was pretty impressed with. A lot of the other cameras that are panning cameras tend to lose people when they get this close to the camera. And this thing still did a pretty good job of panning back and forth and keeping me in frame. Now, that little gas meter down there, occasionally the camera does detect that as a person, but you can use the zones and select areas you don't want it to pick up things. And that's what I did with that gas meter to prevent that problem. Okay, so now with the camera set up, I'm going to show you some of the features through the app that I've been really excited about. The first thing here, this is something that I've actually wanted in a light, and this is the first light that I've seen that really does this, and that is it has a couple different lighting modes. So we have an ambient lighting mode, so that would be the lighting setting that you would have set up just during normal time, people aren't walking by. So with the ambient lighting mode, what I have here is it is set. That's at a level 9. That's on a level from 1 to 100. Now the other thing is there's a color temperature setting in here that you can change. So right now I have it set to a warmer setting, but you can change it to a cooler setting and it'll go to a more white light and back to a more amber light. You can't see that much of a change on camera because the white balance is trying to adjust for it, but it really is pretty dramatic. Now right now I have this set to a 9. How I usually have this set in my side yard is I have it set to a 1, which is nice and dim. It's enough light you're not going to trip over things, but it's not so much that it's being obnoxious. Now I have the light set in here at 1. Let me show you something. And I mentioned earlier in the video, see it's kicking on because it just sensed motion, but that's at a 10. Check this out. That's full bright. This thing is nuts. I don't know when you would ever use it at a full bright. This thing you could see for blocks away, but this I guess would be great if it was up in a garage setting. See, now it's kicking back down for me. But these are no joke. When they talked in the instructions of having the covers over it, this thing really gets bright. So if you need it for a security system, you're doing it over a large area field or maybe a warehouse, These things are no joke. But anyway, in here, you set your different brightnesses. So I have my regular ambient light set at a 1, and then I can jump back out here and I can set my motion activated light. And you can see on the app on the screen here, I have it set at a 10. That's the 10. That's bright enough that any person walking down here, now they can see what they're doing. I can see my trash cans when I'm taking them in and out, but it's perfect. And then you can also set app control. That's if you want to manually turn it on what you want that set to. And you can see in here, I have it set to, right now I'm going to set it at 10, so I can manually turn it on that way. But with all these, you can change the color temperature. And what's nice about that is if you have other lights on the house, you can get the color temperature to match the lights on the house. So this thing doesn't look like a bright white security light and everything else has a nice amber hue, or vice versa. So that's really the first major thing that I really liked about the camera. Now the next thing is how I set up the motion detection. Hopping back into the app, it has zones you can set up and how much motion you want it to detect. And I have it set up so going this way, because it goes into my neighbor's property, it doesn't detect out very far because I don't need to know what's going on in their side yard, but I have it set up so it will detect in that direction and that direction, so it can monitor my side yard. And you can decide where you want it to monitor. Now, the other neat thing in this thing, and there's a lot of neat stuff, I'm going to say neat thing a lot in this video, I know, is you can also set up where you want this thing to default point to. So right now I have the camera defaulted to point towards the gate. Ordinarily that would be a problem because if somebody came walking from that direction, it wouldn't pick them up. But what's neat is even though the camera's default pointed in that direction, it has motion sensors on all sides. So if it picks up motion coming from that direction, it'll swing around and start the recording from that direction. I'll show you an example of that right here. Now here, and you can actually see simultaneously on my screen, which you can see over here, this is where you set up what you want your primary kind of position to be in. And I have it set, my first default set to there, and that's the only default I've set. But you can set multiple defaults if you want the camera to pan around. So if, say, like again, you have it on the corner of a building and you want it to scan around the building, you can set it up in all those directions because this thing will pan in a full 360 degrees. You can also set up in here auto cruise, which I don't have set up, but it does basically give it the ability to just pans back and forth. I was playing around with that before, and that's great if you are monitoring a large area. And then there's also the field of view setting, and that's this one. And you can see here on the field of view setting, I have it set so it's from that end to that end. So it's not going to pan around and look at the house. If you had this thing mounted out on a pole, you would want it to go in a full 360. In my situation, I don't. And there's a bunch of other settings in here that you can tinker around with. I've had a lot of fun with it too, but there's the notification settings, and that's something that you're going to be wanting to play around with. And I've played around with these with all the Eufy products, and I have them all set up a little bit differently depending upon the camera, but I'm going to explain them real quick. The most efficient setting, that will send you an immediate notification that something is happening. The full effect, what that does is it gives you a text notification when something's happening, and then once it has enough time to upload a thumbnail of what's happening, you get another notification. The third one is the include thumbnail, and that waits until it can upload a thumbnail and send that to you in your notification on your phone. The problem with that include thumbnail is it takes it time. It has to upload everything. So if you want an immediate alert, I have it set to most efficient. That way I get an alert right when something happens, and then another one when I can actually see the thumbnail. But it's really up to you and how you're going to use your device. So I hope this video helped you out at all. I'm actually thinking this camera might get moved. It is almost overkill for my little space in the side yard. I think I'm going to wind up putting this thing over the driveway and putting one of the other Eufy cameras back in this location. But I really, really like this camera. This thing is a tank. It's really built well, and the image quality, as you saw, is really amazing. So with that being said, I hope this video helped you out. Please hit that subscribe button. I got a lot of awesome content coming your way. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Give it a big thumbs up. That really does help out the channel. And of course, thank you for watching.